Jada Pinkett Smith. Narcissist. All about me. You will be aware that Jada Pinkett Smith has revealed that she and Will Smith have secretly been separated for 7 years. I don't believe that's the case, and I believe that she's engaging in a revision of history. But let's find out more detail as a consequence of what she has stated in a very recent interview. The Mail online, through Charlie Langston and Sydney Yeats, tells us Jada Pinkett Smith has revealed that she and husband Will Smith have secretly been separated for the last 7 years, as she admitted that the pair, who tied the knot in 1997, are still trying to figure out what the future of their marriage looks like. Therein lies an immediate contradiction. If you're separated, why are you still trying to work out what the future of your marriage looks like? The 52-year-old shared the shock news about her relationship in a new interview with People, before also opening up about their situation in more detail in a sit-down with NBC News. Speaking to Hoda Kotb on the Today Show, Jada explained why her marriage to Will, 55, broke down, divulging, "By the time we got to 2016, we were just exhausted with trying. I think we were both still stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be." Here, her narcissism is coming to the fore. What she's doing, first of all, is projecting that she suggests that Will has a fantasy of what she should be, thus blame shifting, but in actual fact, it's her, because she has an idealized version of what Will Smith should be, and of course, like any dynamic between narcissist and intimate partner primary source, Will has been in a devaluation for a number of years, and therefore the idealized version has shattered, resulting in her making such a comment as, "We're both still stuck in our fantasy of what we thought the other person should be." Note, this isn't awareness on her part that she's a narcissist, she's simply saying something which demonstrates her narcissism. Jada, who admitted in 2020 that she'd had an affair with singer August Alsina, infidelity, sense of entitlement, lack of emotional empathy, said she considered a legal divorce but could never go through with it, candidly revealing that she made a promise to her husband that she would never give him a reason to get divorced. Notice that what she's doing here is, on the one hand, she's saying, "We're not together, but I'm also not getting rid of you." This is a common narcissist behaviour. Some of you may have experienced this, where, for example, the narcissist will say to you, "I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but we can remain friends." Why would you want to remain friends with somebody who has shat all over you? You ought not to. And what the narcissist is doing is basically saying, "I've decided I'm no longer going to be intimate with you, but I'm actually still going to control you, but this time through friendship, because you don't realise that you belong to me until the day you die." It is common for a narcissist to give these mixed messages, where on the one hand, they will say to you, screaming at you, "Never darken my doorstep again. I never want to see you ever again." And then the next day they turn up and carry on as if nothing had happened. It makes no sense to you, but it is, of course, as a consequence of the compartmentalization that the narcissist engages in, that in one moment, the narcissist is perfectly entitled to say to you, "I hate you, I never want to see you again, don't darken my doorstep," and then the very next day talk about the future with you and spending time with you. Ordinarily, those things wouldn't follow, but they would in the world of the narcissist. It's common for the narcissist to, for instance, tell you that the relationship is over, but then he will keep calling round and seeing you, and you're wondering, what's going on? I thought the relationship was over. They didn't want to see me any longer, but the person keeps coming round and seeing me. Jada Pinkett Smith is engaging in exactly the same behaviour. She's saying to Will Smith, "Oh, we're separated, we're not together, but I can't give you a reason to get divorced, and therefore I can't go through with it." I.e., I don't want you, but actually I still want you. I'm pushing you away, but I'm still going to keep hold of you. This results in the victim remaining completely confused, uncertain as to what's really going on. And when they seek clarification from the narcissist, all they do is demonstrate that they remain under control and providing fuel, and will be met with some kind of word salad. Pinkett Smith continued by stating, "I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce," she continued. "We will work through whatever, and I just haven't been able to break that promise." "But you still live separately," Hoda probed, prompting Jada to confirm, "We live separately." It may well be the case that at the moment they do so. It might be the case that that's actually news to Will Smith. But as I've mentioned in an earlier video, I do not accept that they've been properly separated for 7 years. She is revising history, and I should imagine that Will Smith, should he be moved to speak, although he's less likely to do so, will have a completely different story to what she's putting forward. Speaking to People, Jada admitted the pair were in fact living separately when her husband slapped comedian Chris Rock at the Oscars in 2022, when he strode onto the stage in a burst of fury over a joke that had been made about his wife's bald hairstyle. That may then have you wondering, why the fuck did Will Smith do it? Well, good news. I'm going to explain to you in a separate video why he did. She noted that no permanent decisions have been made about the future of her marriage. Notice, they're separated, but there's no permanent decisions being made. Once again, this uncertainty and vagueness that the narcissist uses with regard to the status of the relationship in order to maintain control over the intimate partner primary source. "We've been doing some really heavy-duty work together," she said. "We just got deep love for each other, and we are going to figure out what that looks like." This is typical of this woman that comes out with these airy-fairy, nonsense, word-salady observations. To the ordinary person, if you've got deep love for one another, why are you separated? But of course, she likes to portray herself as this complex individual with a complex relationship, and that there's so much to work through. What she's really doing is using this concept of complexity as an excuse to enable her to do whatever she wants. And Will Smith, decent man that he is, and afflicted by his addiction, stupidly puts up with it. Jada went on to praise her children, Jaden, 25, Willow, 22, and Trey, 30, who is Will's son from a previous relationship, for standing by her during this rocky time in her relationship. I should imagine that many of the children don't realise it's the way that she's portraying it. "My children, they're little gurus. They've taught me a deep sense of self-acceptance." Oh, get over yourself, woman. She said, "They love every part of me." Yes, talk about yourself a bit more. The level of love, unconditional love that they have for me and their dad. Now, it's ordinarily the case that a non-narcissist parent will talk about the unconditional love that they have for their children. Notice here how Pinkett Smith talks about their unconditional love for her. It's all about her. She continued by saying, "And it's one thing to want to be the person that gives that unconditional love, and then there's to be the recipient of that." Will and Jada's separation will come as a shock to many, given that they have denied the gossip about their marriage and kept up the appearance of a committed married couple. That's because there were instances where they were a committed married couple, at least from his side. The article then goes back to talking about the Oscar slap and talks about the affair that she had with the singer, August. The bombshell Today Show interview comes amid Jada's ongoing publicity tour for her new book. The plot thins, which has seen her opening up about a number of difficult topics, including her battle with depression and despair. Pity plays, which began when she turned 40. On paper, it all looked grand. I had the beautiful family, the superstar husband, the lavish lifestyle, fame, and fortune, she writes in the book, according to an excerpt obtained by People. However, she says that behind the scenes, I'd fallen into despair and wanted to be on this earth less and less. Jada's marriage to Will came under blistering public scrutiny in 2020 when she interviewed him on her chat show, Red Table Talk, about an entanglement she had 4 years earlier with a much younger man. Infidelity, sharing of intimate information, lack of boundary recognition, absence of emotional empathy. The article then talks about her childhood in Baltimore, which I've covered previously. She then goes on to state, pulling back the veil of her glittering public persona, Jada recalled, for 2 decades, I've been putting on a good face, going with the flow, telling everyone I was okay. Yet underneath, bouts of depression and overwhelming hopelessness had smouldered until they turned into a raging hellfire in my broken heart. What a melodramatic description. Unwelcome feelings of not deserving love made it harder to understand the disconnect between the so-called perfect life I had achieved and the well of loss I carried with me. Therapy helped up to a point. It got me to 40, but to what end? Her solace came from her children, Jaden and Willow, as well as Will's sons Trey, but by his first wife, Cherie Zampino. But even they were not enough. I would later be diagnosed and informed that I suffer from complex trauma with PTSD and disassociation. Well, that might well be the case, but it's inaccurate. She's a narcissist. But furthermore, it could be the case, of course, that she'd be making that up by virtue of a pity play. But without this guidepost, I was a chronic mess with no fix, no possibility to heal, Jada wrote in her book. Every morning, waking up was like walking the plank of doom. Could I make it to 4 p.m? If I could, I had survived the day. She remembered, I always wanted to sleep, but I never slept well. My children could put a smile on my face and were my only motivation to keep me going. But more and more, I could feel myself losing my grip of connection to them. My ennui had descended on her, despite her checking off boxes meant to define being enough to deserve having it all. But that had ultimately not delivered the gifts that had been promised. She wrote that she had followed the rules we're told to follow. You work hard, make sacrifices for those you love. The rules tell you, be a doting mother and a doting wife. Do the work required, and the life turns into paradise. Nope. A loving relationship, harmony, peace, that happiness had yet to be delivered. She acknowledged, on paper, it all looked grand. I had the beautiful family, the superstar husband, the lavish lifestyle, fame and fortune. I had my own career, the freedom and support to pursue creative outlets. Well, many of you listening would be thinking, well, what the fuck are you moaning about, woman? And of course, this is it. She has what many people would regard as a fantastic, near-perfect life. And yet, she has something to complain about. Why? Because it needs to be the case that she is the centre of attention. And therefore, she's regularly felt overshadowed by her husband's superstar status. And therefore, she has to cut him down. She can't climb higher than him. So therefore, what she has to do is cut him off at the knees to make him shorter than her. And that's why she repeatedly devalues him. Now, she's got a book that she wants to sell. And in order to ensure that it's all about her, it's just oh so convenient that she does an interview with the bombshell that she's been separated from Will Smith for 7 years. It's simply being done as dropping an arc bomb for the purposes of controlling people, drawing fuel by way of their responses, and gaining character traits. And alongside that, the residual benefit of selling books to make money. The fact is, I do not believe, as I mentioned in the prior video, that this is an actual true proper separation for 7 years, and that it is her narcissism causing her to revise history in order to control people now by having something to talk about in relation to her. I should imagine her book is page after page of self-indulgent, cry-baby, pity play, pseudo-healing nonsense. You've had a taste for it there, that she sees herself as oh so complicated and complex, whereas most people would say, fuck me, you've got a fantastic life, get over yourself, enjoy it, stop complaining. But her narcissism causes her to complain in order to get responses from people so she can assert that control and draw fuel. She demonstrates with this supposed bombshell and the contents of her book that once again, she is a narcissist making it all about me. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.